As someone with sensitive guts, I look at foods and I immediately start calculating, like, what's this going to do to my inside? But I'm also often very drawn to those exact same foods.
Well, that's a problem for a lot of people.
And here's something I didn't know until recently. A lot of foods that cause digestive issues contain compounds called FODMAPs, and that's where Fodzyme comes in.
Fodzyme is a tasteless powder you sprinkle right into your food, and it helps break down FODMAPs, the hard-to-digest components in food that can cause bloating, gas, and pain before they cause discomfort.
And I was making a salad the other day, and it was like half raw cabbage. So what did I do? Sprinkled a little Fodzyme on there.
It makes digestion easier, so you can eat more of what you love. Think of it like Lactaid, but for garlic and onions and wheat, beans, cheese, other common foods with FODMAPs.
Every customer gets access to a free consultation with a registered dietitian who can help you figure out how to use Fodzyme with your specific trigger foods.
We're excited to partner with Fodzyme and offer you 30% off your first order when you go to icaneatagain.com/oddities.
That's icaneatagain.com/oddities for 30% off your first order.
Finally, you can enjoy your favorite foods without the pain. Just go to icaneatagain.com/oddities.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney Plus.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're Victorian partners of all time!
New friends.
You are...
Gary the Snake.
And your last name?
The Snake.
Dream team.
New habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working at
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus, rated PG.
The Box of Oddities.
We have talked in the past about the Cryptozoology Museum, which was founded by Lauren Coleman, who is world-renowned when it comes to cryptozoology. And it was in Portland, Maine, but they've relocated it to Bangor, Maine.
We're super excited about the new location, not just because, obviously, we're jazzed that Bangor is getting a cryptozoology museum, but also it's a very cool building that I'm glad is being put to use.
Yeah, it's a very Art Deco, 1940s kind of style. It looks like a gas station in Back to the Future.
It really does. And we're very fortunate to have an inside scoop.
Oh, we do. One of the members of the Freak family, Dean, was just hired there, and he's going to be working full-time at the Cryptozoology Museum, so he can give us all kinds of inside information. Also, maybe get us in for free.
Maybe.
That would be a cool place to do a live show.
Absolutely.
Well, let's think about that. And coming from Bangor, I mean, we've seen so many really cool things be developed there that are on the spooky side. I think because, that's where Stephen King lives. It makes sense.
No, I think the spooky of Bangor predates Stephen King.
He just added to it?
That's right.
Mount Hope Cemetery does haunted tours. And I'm guessing you probably haven't seen what Mount Hope Cemetery looks like, give it a Google.
It's gorgeous. We've done ghost tours in Bangor, like walking tours, and you get to see some of the cool hidden business of haunted Bangor. It's fun. I'm very excited to head up to Maine this summer.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of cemeteries, this leads right into my story. There was a night in Sheffield, England, when thousands of people became convinced that the dead were being stolen. They were being dragged out of their graves and sold to anatomists. This is what the fear was. And for a few terrifying hours in June of 1862, it looked as though the worst Victorian nightmare imaginable had come true. This whole thing began at Wardsend Cemetery, a burial ground sitting on a hill above the River Don. And in Victorian England, few rumors spread faster than those that involved the dead, let's be honest. And to understand why, you have to remember that this was a generation that was still haunted by the era of the resurrection men.
Yeah, it was a real problem for a real length of time.
Yeah, for decades. For decades, professional grave robbers had prowled cemeteries under the cover of darkness, digging up freshly buried bodies and selling them to anatomy schools. We know the story. Medical science needed cadavers to teach students. And the demand was constant. The legal supply wasn't. So an underground market began to emerge. And the merchandise was corpse.
That's a funny sentence. The merchandise was corpse.
Or corpse-eye, or corpses.
No, I like it singular.
Okay,
Corpse.
it's corpse. People knew it happened. Newspapers, of course, reported on it. Court cases exposed it. Every family had heard stories, some, of course, true, others maybe just a victim of being retold too many times. The result was a collective paranoia surrounding burials, because a funeral didn't necessarily mean goodbye, and it happened more than once. And by 1862, it wasn't happening as much, but people remembered it being a real problem, so they would spend the night wondering whether the grave would still be intact in the morning. And some families actually hired guards to watch over the newly dug graves. Oftentimes, family members themselves would take shifts. The term graveyard shift may have come from that. I'm not sure, but it makes sense to me. They would sit in the cold among rows of headstones and listening for the sound of shovels in the dark. In parts of Britain, they used those heavy iron cages. You still see them every once in a while. They were called mort safes, and they were placed over graves to physically prevent anyone from reaching the coffin below. People were so afraid of body snatchers that they built miniature iron prisons for the dead.
This is all reminding me of an episode of Blacklist I watched recently.
Ooh, really?
Where there was some corpse stealing going on, some grave robbing. Mm-hmm. And then later on, we discovered it had to do with ghost brides. And I was like, we've talked about both of those things.
Oh my gosh, really? Wow. The thing about fears like this is that they don't disappear when the danger goes away. They just become part of how people see the world. And by 1862, as I mentioned, most people in Sheffield had never personally encountered a resurrection man, but they knew the stories. And more importantly, they believed them. And so when rumors began circulating that something wasn't right at Wardsend Cemetery, people didn't dismiss it as just rumors. They were primed to believe the worst. It was during this time that a cemetery laborer named Robert Dixon started noticing some strange things.
Dixon?
Dixon.
Oh.
Dixon would have been great.
Really?
Yeah,
I was going to say.
Dixon. Dixon. And his wife, they lived nearby the cemetery in the cemetery lodge. From there, he began observing activity that made absolutely no sense to him. He became aware of locked areas containing small coffins. He noticed broken coffin fragments, and there was a foul smell hanging in the air near one of the sheds.
Oh, no.
Eventually, he claimed to have witnessed the cemetery sexton, Isaac Howard, moving bodies and tampering with the coffins in secret. What he believed he was seeing was so disturbing that he eventually went to the authorities. But before any official investigation could be established, finding out exactly what happened, of course, the rumors escaped. And by the time the story reached Sheffield streets, it had morphed into something far, far worse. People weren't hearing that graves had been disturbed. They were hearing that corpses were being hauled out of the ground and sold to medical students. They kind of made that leap.
Sure.
And the city erupted. So on the evening of June 3rd, 1862, enormous crowds gathered at Wardsend Cemetery, and some estimates in contemporary reports number them in the thousands.
Ooh.
Families rushed to the graves of children and parents and spouses. Men arrived carrying tools. Others simply came to see what the rumors were about and if it was true.
Tools?
Shovels.
Oh.
Yeah, and pickaxes. Did you have a mental image of somebody rushing to a cemetery with a Black & Decker skill saw?
I was thinking a bandsaw or something.
Sure, yeah. And people didn't trust the church or the cemetery officials or the authorities, and they certainly didn't trust medical professionals.
Well, no. They're the ones who are hacking up these bodies.
So the people began digging. Now, this must have been a really creepy scene. Thousands of people in a cemetery,
Oof.
many of them digging up graves, freshly disturbed graves illuminated by lantern light as dusk approaches, the smell of wet earth, mothers searching for coffins of their children. Crowds pressed forward for a glimpse of whatever might emerge from the ground. The crowd grew. The atmosphere alone must have been enough to send panic rippling through the city. And then they found the pit, a large hidden hole in the back of the cemetery. It was covered with planks and dirt. Inside were coffins, lots of them, many of them open. Others appeared to have been moved from their original graves. Coffin plates were discovered elsewhere on the property. Witnesses reported finding remains in shocking conditions. One mother, Marriott Shearman, believed she recognized the body of her young son among the coffins that had been uncovered. She took the child's remains home with her. For the crowd, this was just confirmation. Every terrible, haunted story that they heard about resurrection men was true, and the reaction was immediate.
But why? That doesn't make any sense, though. If you're a resurrection man, you're not just digging bodies out of graves and then putting them in a pit.
Yeah.
That's not...
And that's the thing that was overlooked. There were more coffins than there were bodies.
All right.
The reaction was immediate. Furious mobs descended on the sexton's house. Windows were smashed. Property was destroyed. The building was eventually set on fire, and Isaac Howard became the most hated man in Sheffield almost overnight. Had the crowd found him that night, it's difficult to imagine the outcome would have been anything less than deadly. Contemporary reports noted that people actively searched for him while they were destroying the building. But the reality turned out to be even stranger than the rumor, and in some ways, almost as disturbing. As you pointed out, they did find remains in there, so that kind of leads people, or should have led people, to believe these weren't resurrection men. These were just graves being disturbed. Investigators eventually discovered that bodies were not being exhumed and sold to medical schools. That part was not true. But instead, Wardsend Cemetery had been operating in a deeply unethical and deceptive manner. To create space for additional burials, older graves, particularly those containing children and individuals buried in cheaper plots, had been reopened. Coffins and remains were removed and placed into a large pit. Dissected remains that had legally arrived from the Sheffield Medical School for burial had been improperly handled and dumped there in that pit as well. No respectful interment. So, the city had been wrong about body snatching, but not about the desecration. The dead definitely had been disturbed, and families had definitely been deceived. And the trust that people had placed in those responsible for the burials in that town shattered. The trial that followed revealed a very complicated picture. The guy, Isaac Howard, the cemetery sexton, was convicted and imprisoned. Reverend John Livesey, who oversaw the cemetery, was also convicted on related offenses involving false records and burial irregularities. But he received a much lighter sentence, maybe because he was a man of the cloth. I don't know. Speculating. Ironically, both men later received compensation for their property damage that was caused by the riots.
That is weird.
Yeah. And the riot really wasn't caused by what happened in the cemetery. It was caused by what people believed could happen. Could happen. Victorian Britain, of course, obsessed with death. Death was visible everywhere. Sadly, children died young. Disease would sweep through cities. Funeral processions were constant features in everyday life. And so there was a very deep anxiety. The fear that death wasn't the end of your suffering became something people dwelled on. The fear that your body might not be left in peace, but rather pieces in some cases.
Yeah.
And at Wardsend Cemetery, those fears, it exploded all at once. It was kind of a perfect storm. I hate using that phrase, but it kind of was. For a brief moment, the entire city looked into an open grave and saw confirmation of its darkest suspicions. More than 160 years later, this cemetery still exists. It's overgrown in places and it's almost forgotten. But visitors do come by and they walk among the thousands of graves, perhaps not even realizing that they're standing in one of the strangest episodes in Victorian history. A riot sparked by a rumor. And it was a scandal that was fueled by genuine wrongdoing, but became much, much bigger than it actually was. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't what people know, it's what people fear might be true.
Well, in this case, it's good that they had those fears.
Yes, it is.
Because they did uncover a crime.
Fortunately, it didn't end in unnecessary violence. Because if they had found that guy, they would have killed him, for sure. I picture, like, the townsfolk with torches and pitchforks, like from Frankenstein.
Right. Well, you said they had tools.
Yeah.
Maybe not a sawzall, but I bet they had something sticky.
Something pointy. My sources, Historic UK, the Wardsend Cemetery Riot, A Crisis of Confidence, the public response to the 1862 Sheffield resurrection scandal by Jordan Lee Smith, and the Wardsend Cemetery Historical Records. It was a corpse party. Party with the corpse. Maybe Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo would be a good soundtrack song.
It was a good album.
Yeah. Well, we certainly live in stressful times, and stress kind of affects everybody differently. With me, I have a hard time sleeping, but not so much anymore because I started using the fine products from Tanasi.
What is Tanasi? All Tanasi products are THC-free and contain a patented CBD and CBDA formula that's 2 times better than CBD alone.
Studies have shown that that combination was far more effective than over-the-counter non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like acetaminophen or ibuprofen. It not only helps with any aches and pains, it helps you to stay calm, you can rest, and sleep better.
The Tanasi formula can provide a sense of calm when stress is high, alleviates the discomforts of aches and pains associated with an active lifestyle,
or just getting old like me.
And satisfaction is guaranteed. Try Tanasi products. If you don't love them, you'll receive a full refund.
And there's a full range of product types. It allows you to find the product form that's right for you. Topicals, soft gels, gummies, and tinctures. They're THC free, but man, do they work.
We've both just started with the soft gels. It's a quick and easy add to our daily routine.
Go to Tanasi.com. Use promo code Oddities. Get 25% off at checkout.
That's TANASI.com to get 25% off your first order with promo code Oddities.
If you've ever blasted synth beats from your boombox or burned CDs for your besties, this one's for you. As people get older, much like their music tastes, their health needs change. AG1 is the simple daily health drink designed to deliver over 75 essential daily nutrients and pre- and probiotics to support energy, digestion, and mood, so you can make the most out of every decade and dance break. Learn more at drinkag1.com.
And now, that thing in the middle.
Today's thing in the middle, we found a watch-worthy list of the television shows with the funniest episode titles.
This according to Ranker. The Simpsons is known for their amazing episode titles. One of my favorites, though, was The Crepes of Wrath.
Amazing.
Followed closely by Much a Poo About Nothing.
Number 4, Supernatural, with episode titles like Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things and Chris Angel is a Douchebag.
Psych, one of our favorite series of all time. The episode Woman Seeking Dead Husband, Smokers Okay, No Pets.
Gus's dad may have killed an old guy.
He loves me not, he loves me, oops, he's dead. Again, there's so many good ones.
Number 2, Golden Girls. Larceny and Old Lace and the impotence of being earnest are just a few real killers.
That's funny. South Park, Cartman gets an anal probe, followed closely by Cartman's mom's a dirty slut.
And of course, I think it's important we give a shout out, honorable mention to It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Frank sets Sweet D on fire. Not just funny, very descriptive. You know what episode that is. It's the one where Frank sets
D on.
Sweet D on,
on fire.
Fire.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, we cover the latest tech news on This Week in Tech. Hi, this is Leo Laporte inviting you to join me. And this week's panel, Gary Rivlin, Pulitzer Prize-winning author of AI Valley, Molly White, Wikipedia editor and the creator of Web3 is Going Just Great, and car guy Sam Abul-Samad. Sam has some opinions on the brand new Ferrari Luce. Molly's mom has some opinions on Google's new search page, and Gary has some thoughts about the Pope. That and more this week on Twit. You'll find it at twit.tv and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Micah Sargent from Tech News Weekly. I've got a great show this week. Dan Morin of Six Colors is here to give us a breakdown of, well, iOS 27. What can we expect at WWDC? Bloomberg has some rumors. Then I talk about an ongoing issue overseas and frankly also here in the US. What happens when your phone is stolen and then your family is threatened to have it unlocked? Jake Ward also gives us incredible analysis of the Vatican's encyclical on AI and how history does indeed repeat itself and how morals remain important to humanity. Check out this show by searching for Tech News Weekly wherever you get your podcasts or head to twit.tv/TNW.
Here at the Box of Oddities, we strive to always forgive and forget and never hold any grudges. Unless, you really fucked us over. This is the Box of Oddities.
What you got for me?
In the late 1900s, early 2000s, the northbound section of the Harbor Freeway, the 110, approaching downtown LA, had a notoriously confusing lane split. Drivers heading toward I-5 North, I-10 East, US 101, and downtown Los Angeles had to make quick decisions in heavy traffic. One particular overhead sign showed which destinations could be reached from each lane, but it failed to clearly indicate that the far left lane also connected to the I-5 North. Hundreds of thousands of drivers navigate the tangled interchange between the 110 and I-5 every month. For those heading north on the 110 and hoping to continue north on the 5, the transition could be a nerve-wracking surprise. The exit appeared suddenly on the left side of the freeway, emerging at the end of a tunnel with little warning. For years, there was no prominent sign alerting motorists that the interchange was just ahead. People who drove the route regularly knew the pattern. Come out of the tunnel, people are desperately, sometimes dangerously, trying to cross over faster traffic to get to the left side exit. And the results were predictable. Drivers made sudden lane changes, people missed exits, traffic became chaotic, and there were accidents.
And for anybody that has driven like the 5 or the 10 in LA, you know how difficult it is to maneuver even when the signs are right.
I don't know because I've never been. Every time my husband goes to LA, he leaves me behind.
Yeah, or we get ready for a trip and then we cancel it.
That has also happened on multiple occasions.
Yeah, you'll get there.
So anyway, one of the people who noticed this pattern was Richard Ankrum. It's 2001. Richard Ankrum had grown so annoyed by the interchange that the California Department of Transportation seemed not super interested in fixing. He decided he would. See, Richard was an artist and sign maker by trade.
Aha.
So this seemed not just necessary, but totally doable. He understood how freeway signs were made. He could do this, so he got to work. Richard spent roughly 3 months researching and building a new sign panel. His attention to detail, beautiful. He studied official highway sign specifications. He obtained reflective sheeting similar to that used by the California Department of Transportation.
Wow.
He found the matching fonts. He went out with measuring tapes and took lots of dimensions. He sourced materials from the same suppliers connected to the California Department of Transportation.
And of course his intentions were good, but man, if they weren't, he could have really fucked some shit up.
His goal wasn't to create something flashy. It was for nobody to notice, really. He wanted people to think that it had been installed by Caltrans, which is the fancy California way of saying the California Department of Transportation.
That is so LA.
In the art world, this kind of intervention is sometimes called stealth or guerrilla public artwork, something inserted into a public space without permission, but actually designed to blend seamlessly into its surroundings. At first, Richard Ankrum planned to carry out the installation under the cover of darkness. Get into like a sleuthy 1940s bank robber style black outfit.
Kind of take the Banksy approach. You just wake up one morning and it's there.
Yes, secretly altering the infrastructure. But the more he thought about it, the more that felt wrong. And he was an artist after all. If he genuinely believed that he was improving public safety, why sneak around? Besides, he had already recruited several friends from the Brewery Art Colony in Lincoln Heights, where he lived, to document the operation. They'd agreed to wake up before dawn with cameras in hand to capture what would later become known as his Guerrilla Public Service Project. Months of work had gone into creating a flawless replica of this Caltrans freeway marker, an Interstate 5 shield paired with a green place card reading North. Once he'd committed to making it, the logic was hard to escape. If he made the sign, he had to install it.
Well, yeah, you're committed.
Just after sunrise, with cameras rolling from multiple vantage points, Ankrum donned a hard hat and a safety vest, carried a ladder to the towering freeway sign structure, and calmly climbed into position.
That's smart. The hard hat and the safety vest. Man, that just kind of builds confidence in the observer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's got a safety vest.
It's like they say, if you walk around with a clipboard, people somehow think you have some sort of authority.
That's right.
To anyone passing by, he looked just like a highway worker beginning a routine maintenance job. So his friends filmed every step as he secured the new Interstate 5 shield and the accompanying North marker. It only took a few minutes, and then he packed up and scootled right off. And then, nothing happened.
Oh, look, the freeway ferry's been here.
The modification was relatively small. Yeah, it was an extra lane indicator and a shield that clarified access to the I-5 North. And of course, most people assumed that a hard hat and a vest, it belonged there. And this was pre-9/11, so keep that in mind. It was a whole different world. Drivers, though, certainly noticed the improvement. Suddenly, the confusing interchange made sense. Most motorists simply assumed the state had finally corrected the problem. The sign looked official because it was designed to look that way. So day after day, month after month, traffic flowed a little more smoothly, while the agency responsible for the freeway remained completely unaware that a new sign had been installed.
Can you imagine all of the accidents that he prevented and possible deaths?
Possibly. It wasn't until about 9 months later, when the editing was done of the footage and it was posted to a video hosting site, while simultaneously the story was leaked to local news outlets. And suddenly, Richard had media teams waiting outside his studio to set up interviews for national news programs. And the story got significant attention.
It's exactly the kind of human interest story that news organizations look for.
Oh, yeah. The sign was becoming famous as an example of helpful vandalism. Caltrans' public statement about the unauthorized sign? Surprisingly chill and clever, really. Hey, seemed like he noticed something was needed. What a good idea. This is something we should take note of. If they had reacted poorly, it could have been a PR nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
But they were so, California about it. They were like, yeah, no, this guy, he knows what's up.
Yeah, he's paying attention.
And Caltrans did. They replaced the overhead sign structure and incorporated essentially the same navigational information that Ankrum had added. 8 years later.
Wow. What do they do with his art?
I don't know. That's a great question. The state ultimately adopted the correction he'd made. Essentially, they put up a new, fresh, them version of exactly what he'd done. So, is it art? Is it vandalism? From a legal perspective, yeah, he altered government property without authorization, and that's generally bad news. But from a practical perspective, the information was accurate, drivers benefited from it, no safety problems arose.
If they had tried to prosecute him for vandalism, I have no doubt the judge would have just thrown it out.
I mean, it just would have seemed so shitty.
Really shitty. Yeah, you have to consider the intention there.
This project falls into a fascinating gray area. What Ancrum had done wasn't entirely without precedent. His project falls into a category known as guerrilla wayfinding. It's a form of tactical urbanism in which citizens design and install unofficial navigation signs to help people move through a space more efficiently.
That's awesome.
Unlike graffiti or other forms of urban intervention made primarily with artistic intentions, guerrilla wayfinding is usually practical in nature. It emerges when residents notice a gap between how a city is designed on paper and how people actually use it. The solutions can be as simple as homemade signs pointing cyclists toward safer routes, stickers directing pedestrians to transit stations, or unofficial markers helping visitors navigate confusing neighborhoods.
That reminds me of something. I haven't thought about this for years. When I was a kid, my grandparents had a cottage out on a lake nearby.
Brag.
Yeah. And, there were a lot of other cottages there. Every camp had their own symbol. And my grandparents was like a paw print. And people would use that symbol and they would just paint it on a rock or a tree. And you just follow the symbols right to the camp.
You're on your way to their camp because of the paw print. Oh, that's cute.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Everybody on that side of the lake did it.
Was this the rich side of the family or the potato side of the family?
It is the not potato side of the family.
I see. Yes.
Actually, both sides of the family were potatoes. Just that on one side,
one were dirtier than the other.
They harvested them, and the other one owned the farms.
I see.
Yeah.
So your fancy pants grandparents had a camp,
a cottage
on the lake that they used secret identifiers to lead the wealthy in your neighborhood to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably for their fucking tea parties or some crap.
Well, it was difficult to get the yacht in. You had to know exactly where you were going.
So anyway, occasionally, as in Ancrum's case, the city doesn't notice. But it's even better when they do notice and they take responsibility for the change that needed to be made. I love that.
I do too.
Ancrum saw this design flaw. He used his professional expertise to solve it and executed the solution so perfectly that nobody realized that it wasn't their idea. For years, hundreds of thousands of drivers relied on a freeway sign created by a single artist working alone in his garage. Marianne sent me this story, and I just loved it. And at first I thought, can I use this for a good bits? But it needed to be fleshed out, and so I'm glad I had the time to do that.
It would have been an excellent good bits, but it did deserve to be drilled down on. I love that story.
I got my information from thelandmag.com, The Drive, Shareable, and LaughingSquid.com.
Again, thanks to those of you that have joined the Circle of Freaks on Patreon and are supporting the show. If you would like to do it and you haven't yet, the link is at theboxofoddities.com.
This morning, the Inner Circle of Freaks is conferring with me on a recipe box that I'm interested in buying.
A recipe box of oddities?
Ducky has been really helpful in me figuring out what I need to know. So, thanks, guys.
Great bunch of people. Members of the Inner Circle and the Order of Freaks get great benefits depending upon the level of support. Stuff like ad-free episodes, monthly Zoom gatherings.
Oh, we've got one coming up.
And much more. Theboxofoddities.com. We'll see you next time.
Until then, keep flying that freak flag.
Fly it proudly, you beautiful freak.
And so, let it be known that the Box of Oddities belongs to you, and its fate is in your hands. Therefore, it's been requested by those to whom I report to beseech you for assistance. We ask but one thing of you, to provide a 5-star rating and a positive review. True, that is 2 things. However, 'tis merely a 5-star rating and a positive review. Also, subscribe to us. Okay, so 3 things is all we ask. 3 things and 3 things only. Henceforth, the Box of Oddities commits to the telling of stories. Stories of the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. We wish to offer our deeply felt gratitude and appreciation for your patronage. TheBoxOfOddities.com. Copyright 2026, all rights reserved.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Every Tuesday, we talk security on Security Now. Hi, this is Leo Laporte from the Twit Podcast Network, inviting you to join me and Steve Gibson this week as we talk about 2 big security flaws we revealed last week and how they're already being exploited. We'll talk about memory in your chatbots. Is it a privacy issue? And then the end of a fabulous hacker competition thanks to, what else? AI. That's Security Now. You'll find it on our website at twit.tv/SN or wherever you get your podcasts.